Yemen, a nation located to the south of Saudi Arabia, stands as the poorest country in the entire Arab world. Its entire economy and national income largely depend on the remittances sent by its citizens who work overseas. This nation remained under British occupation until the year 1967. Following the British withdrawal from this region, the country was subsequently divided into two distinct parts. In the southern portion, a pro-Russian communist government came into existence, while the northern part, predominantly inhabited by the Zaydi sect, a branch of Shia Islam, established its own government. Immediately following their independence, a significant power struggle commenced between the rulers of the northern and southern parts of the country, a conflict which continued unabated in this fashion right up until 1990. During that very year, North and South Yemen ultimately reached a consensus on the establishment of a single unified government, and consequently Ali Abdullah Saleh, the then ruler of North Yemen, was formally acknowledged and accepted as the unified president of Yemen. Despite the establishment of this unified government, the disagreements between both factions could not be completely eliminated. The mutual conflicts continued just as before, and the former armies of both parts refused to integrate with each other. Saudi Arabia was so angered by Yemen's opposition to the 1991 Iraq war that it expelled 800,000 Yemeni residents working there. Yemen possesses neither oil wealth nor any significant mineral resources, and agriculture is extremely limited. Taking these factors into consideration, Yemen's economy, which was already grappling with severe challenges, suffered a profound blow due to the expulsion of Yemeni residents from Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, within Yemen, the prevailing conditions of internal conflicts, a fragile economy, widespread unemployment, and ongoing civil strife had created an opportune moment for Al-Qaeda to establish its presence. It was back in the year 2000 when Al-Qaeda carried out an attack on an American naval vessel. Subsequently, in 2002, Al-Qaeda launched another assault, this time on an American super oil tanker. In response to these actions, the United States then initiated its very first drone strike as a direct retaliatory measure. A specific group in Yemen aimed to exploit all these prevailing circumstances for their own gain, intending to seize control of the Yemeni government. These were none other than the Houthi rebels. Yes, these are indeed the very same Houthi rebels who, just a few days ago, launched a missile attack on Abu Dhabi, thereby once again drawing the world's attention towards themselves. The general understanding regarding the Houthi rebels is that they are affiliated with the Zaydi branch of the Shia faith. While this held true to a certain extent in the past, the current situation has undergone a complete transformation. Because a significant portion of Yemen's economy was dependent on the income of individuals working in other Gulf states. Now, following the Iraq-Kuwait war, because Yemen had chosen to side with Iraq, Yemenis were subsequently deported from all the Gulf nations, which immediately caused a severe and widespread unemployment crisis throughout Yemen. Furthermore, these countries did not stop with just the deportations. They also drastically cut the financial aid Yemen was receiving for crucial developmental expenditures, including funding for education and public health services. In the context of this situation, the emergence of anti-Arab feelings among the Yemeni people against other Arab nations was a natural development. Iran fully capitalized on this entire situation. It so happened that Hussein Badreddin al-Houthi, the leader of the Houthi tribes with Iranian backing, established an organization named Shabab al-Mominin comprised of Shia youth. This organization first initiated numerous social welfare projects in its areas of influence, all with the support and assistance of Iran. These included the establishment of hospitals, schools, clean drinking water plants, and many other similar institutions. It was evident that Iran, through such cooperation, intended to convert individuals of the Zaydi branch of the Shia sect into Imami or Itna Ashari Shias. It is evident that the belief of Zaydi Shia individuals is that any person from the progeny of al-Bayt and Sayyida Fatima Zahra, may Allah be pleased with her, can be appointed to the position of Imamate, considering their piety and justice, whereas Shias belonging to the Imami and Itna Ashari branches state that the selection of the Imam itself, God does it, and no human being has the authority to do this. The graduates, both male and female students from all educational institutions operating under Shabab al-Mominin, were enrolled in large numbers in Iranian universities, where they were provided with financial assistance as well as compulsory military training. These students would return from Iran carrying Khomeini's ideologies and revolutionary concepts. At the same time, Hussein Badreddin al-Houthi was able to successfully bring to his side a significant portion of the populace, along with numerous military commanders and many key opposition figures. He achieved this through the combination of his powerful oratorical skills, revolutionary rallying cries, Iranian cooperation, and his own highly charismatic persona. Thanks to 14 years of continued effort and the immense resources provided by Iran, Badruddin had acquired such significant military strength that he staged an armed revolt in 2004 with the intention of seizing control of Yemen. This is known as the First Houthi Rebellion, which occurred in Sada province, situated adjacent to the Saudi border in northern Yemen. However, this uprising failed miserably, resulting in the death of Badruddin. Following this, the leadership of Shabab al-Mu'minin was assumed by his brother Abdul Malik al-Houthi, who subsequently established a new organization, Ansarullah, in its place. At the same time, Abdul Malik al-Houthi completely severed ties with the Zaydi Shia, granting permission for inclusion in the new group only to individuals belonging to the Twelver sect. This was the period when the deteriorating situation in Yemen allowed Al-Qaeda to establish a foothold there, and this state of affairs was deeply concerning for America and its allies. So, America also began backing the Houthi group to curb Al-Qaeda. Through this, Abdul Malik al-Houthi received financial assistance and arms from America alongside Iran. Since Ansarullah had America's support, supported Saudi Arabia and other Arab countries had completely ignored the group's activities. Meanwhile, due to the Al-Qaeda threat, America began providing weapons and military training to Yemeni President Ali Abdullah Saleh's loyal Republican Guard, along with patronage and financial support. Now, it's important to remember that in 2008, given the Al-Qaeda threat between Houthi rebels and the Yemeni government, a settlement was brokered under which all Houthi rebels who had been imprisoned for acts of rebellion since 2004 were released. Furthermore, the government also returned their confiscated weapons and ammunition stockpiles. At the same time, America, despite its pledges to combat terrorism, deliberately overlooked the significant aid that the Houthis were receiving from Iran. America's true threat, however, originated from Al-Qaeda, an organization primarily composed of Sunni Muslims. Consequently, intense drone strikes were launched against Sunni-majority regions within Yemen. As a consequence of this, the strength of the Sunni Muslim population began to continuously diminish. Meanwhile, due to the direct support and the patronage provided by America and Iran, the Shia Houthis consistently gained power. This entire sequence of events and circumstances continued uninterrupted until the year 2011. In late 2010, the Arab Spring, which began in Tunis, was a powerful movement that deeply destabilized the long-established monarchies throughout the Arab world. The governments of Libya, Egypt, and Tunisia were completely overthrown. The Syrian government was compelled to seek assistance from Russia and Iran to preserve its very existence, while Saudi Arabia found itself forced to implement numerous reforms that were previously inconceivable. In a sense, following Ali Abdullah Saleh's particular style of governance, coupled with widespread corruption, high unemployment, and intense internal strife, Yemen too could not escape these profound consequences. The government, however, resorted to the use of force to suppress the ongoing protests. More than 2,000 individuals were tragically killed during this period. Over 22,000 people sustained serious injuries, and a significantly large number were subsequently imprisoned in jails. Once again, the major global powers realized that Al-Qaeda could potentially exploit this volatile situation. Consequently, under immense international pressure, Ali Abdullah Saleh was compelled to relinquish his authority, and the government was then handed over to Vice President Abdrabbu Mansur Hadi. It's worth noting that Ali Abdullah Saleh was Shia, while Mansur Hadi was Sunni. However, the main problem was that America and its supporters stopped all forms of cooperation with this new government. Meanwhile, Ali Abdullah Saleh had also begun spreading propaganda that Sunnis had taken control of the unified Yemeni government. This propaganda gained significant acceptance among Yemenis who adhered to the Shia sect. Consequently, with the cooperation of Ali Abdullah Saleh and his loyal Republican Guard, under the patronage of Iran and the leadership of Abdul Malik al-Houthi, the Houthis soon took control of Sana'a, the capital of unified Yemen. Now, during this period, the Saudi monarch, King Abdullah bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, passed away in January of the year 2015, and his half-brother, King Salman, assumed this position. King Salman decided that his son Mohammed bin Salman should ascend the Saudi throne in the future. Therefore, at the earliest opportunity, he appointed Mohammed bin Salman at the age of 29 as the defense minister of Saudi Arabia. The first thing Mohammed bin Salman did upon assuming his duties was to summon all of his generals and issue the command to attack the Houthi rebels in Yemen. They believed Saudi Arabia would win this war in a maximum of 2 weeks. Some also claimed that King Salman had dismissed his younger brother Prince Mukrin bin Abdulaziz from the position of Crown Prince simply because he was against the Saudi attacks on Yemen. However, the undeniable reality is that this was purely Mohammed bin Salman's personal decision. The Saudi security forces were absolutely not prepared for this attack because prior to this, Saudi Arabia had never been directly involved in this kind of warfare. Furthermore, Mohammed bin Salman did not even bother to consult his strategic partner, America, before doing this and made the decision alone. However, the unnecessary idleness and weak planning and operations of the Saudi security forces are the reasons why Saudi Arabia has not achieved any significant success so far. Meanwhile, Iran, recognizing this as a golden opportunity, openly intervened in Yemen and continues to provide extensive support to the Houthi rebels even today. Iran's senior leadership firmly believes that this presents the perfect chance to completely subdue its biggest rival, Saudi Arabia, in every possible way. Their objective is to ensure that Saudi Arabia becomes deeply and severely bogged down in the conflict in Yemen. That is why he is providing full assistance to the Houthi rebels. It is said that the missiles which the Houthis launch against Saudi Arabia on various occasions are either copies of Iranian missiles or their advanced versions. Currently, the situation is that Saudi Arabia has occupied Yemen's Sana'a airport and the port of Hodeidah, while Houthi rebels have clearly refused to accept any kind of ceasefire until Saudi Arabia ends the occupation. At this moment, Saudi Arabia has no American support of any kind in this war. Former US President Barack Obama had given Saudi Arabia the green light for aerial attacks on Yemen, whereas Donald Trump provided full support to Saudi Arabia and gave no consideration to resolving the matter through negotiations. While current US President Joe Biden, immediately upon taking office, also announced the restoration of the nuclear deal with Iran, which President Trump had previously cancelled. Although Egypt and the United Arab Emirates, among others, are with Saudi Arabia in this war, Saudi Arabia alone is bearing all the war expenses, which is a very significant burden on its economy. Saudi Arabia has acquired American missile defense systems on rent to neutralize Iranian-made ballistic missiles, with a monthly rent of $450 million. It's noteworthy that in this war, the highest expenses were incurred on neutralizing missiles in the air. Additionally, Saudi Arabia has also signed defense deals worth nearly $100 billion with various nations to win the war. When all these expenditures are tallied, the total sum amounts to well over $216 billion. Moreover, Saudi Arabia is being forced to bear a significant financial burden for the protection of its approximately 800-mile-long border it shares with Yemen. Furthermore, the escalating hardships faced by the Yemeni populace stemming from the land and sea blockade imposed on Yemen are also being paid for by Saudi Arabia and its allies. That's why Saudi Arabia is also concerned about Yemen's reconstruction and restoration. Therefore, some time ago, the Saudi-led Arab coalition announced an additional $1.5 billion in aid for Yemen and said that it would take steps to keep all of the country's ports, including Al Hudaydah, open to deliver humanitarian aid to the Yemeni people and ensure that these ports remain open at all times. Before this announcement, Saudi Arabia's central bank had transferred $2 billion to Yemen's central bank, and its aim was to prevent the Yemeni rial from further depreciation. The long and short of it is that during this war, according to a conservative estimate by the United Nations, 233,000 Yemeni citizens have lost their lives. Of these, 171,000 alone perished due to hunger, destitution, poverty, and various diseases. In addition to this, more than 300,000 children are currently facing severe food shortages and malnutrition. Only half of the nation's 3,500 medical facility centers are fully functional and operational, while approximately 20 million individuals do not have access to adequate healthcare services and facilities, and nearly 17.5 million people lack access to safe drinking water or proper sanitation and hygiene facilities. Besides the air and maritime blockade, the devastation of Hodeidah's port, the coronavirus pandemic, heavy rainfall, and locust swarm attacks, along with other contributing factors that have severely harmed the economy of this extremely impoverished nation, a recovery that may not be feasible even for many years into the future. The bottom line is this: to prevent further loss of human lives in Yemen, it is essential that the United Nations immediately intervene and bring all Yemeni parties, namely President Mansour Hadi, Saudi Arabia, and Iran, to the table. All attacks must be immediately stopped and Saudi Arabia and Houthi rebels should reach an agreed upon settlement to prevent a humanitarian catastrophe in Yemen. Furthermore, all Muslim nations should collectively announce aid for Yemen so that the damage caused during this 7-year war can be compensated to some extent.